Hello, we are back to talk about marriage, love and marriage.
I can't sing that well, but
Yeah, but
so I'll refrain from that.
but you
yes,
appreciate my singing.
I do. I've been listening to it for a long time. So yeah.
That's right. And speaking of which, we're about to celebrate our 28th year of marriage in a few days, actually. And we've been together for 31 years. And what we wanted to talk about today is, if you haven't heard of the concept of love languages, I highly recommend you look at it. We're going to tell you what the 5 are right now. There are 5 different love languages, and there's a book about it. There's a test that you can do online. We didn't learn about love languages until actually maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, it was far too long before we learned about them.
Far too long. We made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful. So there's 5, and I'll post information below this video. So there's words of affirmation. So encouraging, affirmative, appreciate, empathize, listen carefully and actively. So that's one. The second is touch, and that's non-verbal use, body language to express love and affection. Acts of service. So that's helping and showing love through actions and through active efforts. Time, which is number 4, and that is uninterrupted and focused quality time with conversation and direct engagement. And then the 5th is gifts. So that's thoughtful gifts, both material and otherwise, to show your partner that they are your priority. So what are your love languages? I know acts of service, touch, physical time. Touch, and time. And mine are primarily, and you can have more than one, and you can rank them sort of like some take more priority than others. Mine are words of affirmation, time and quality, time and touch.
You've always loved words. So
yeah, I
did try my best to write as many notes as I could. And
yeah.
And cards too, for you. I know just a simple card. Yeah. So that's not my love language, but that's her love language. So which is a huge difference, because I used to get in my head what I liked, she liked. And if I did something, through acts of service or put time aside, I wasn't 100% sure that was, I knew that's what I wanted, but it wasn't everything that you wanted.
Right.
And I could have, instead of working so hard to push my love language onto you, I should have, I could have written, a paragraph, and that would have been great for a week. Could have done that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know otherwise. But yeah, it's love languages are huge.
Yeah. And I would say that since we've learned that information about the power of love languages, and again, as Jeff said, it's not about what your love languages that you're going to project onto your partner. That's where you get into conflict. And that was what would happen to Jeff and I, because I had no clue. It was so ignorant. Now that I know, it's like so obvious that one of his love languages was acts of service. And he would, and it's interesting, because if this is the first time you've learned about this concept, you will notice what their love language is. Now that we've told you, we've let you in on the secret, and you'll notice it because it's what they're saying all the time, or what they're asking for. And as Jeff said, sometimes you think you're pushing it onto somebody else because it's like, this is what defines love for me. But the other person is like, no, it's words of affirmation for me. So what happened with us is that we would get into these stupid little arguments that would disrupt our flow a lot. And it was because we weren't satisfying each other's love languages.
Yeah, it was across many years. So
yeah,
a lot of wasted time that way.
Yeah,
to get to where we are. But grateful to be where we are. But yeah, if we would have known that up front, it would have been super helpful.
Yeah, it would have made a big difference.
Yeah, you just arrive at a better place sooner. And again, it's about giving everything you can to your mate, and then seeing back what they not seeing, or just seeing them for who they are. Yeah. And what their language is. So again, if you want to reach anyone, you have to speak the right language. And if we wanted to get ourselves to the next level in our relationship, we had to do this exercise with the love languages. But yeah, I think it's well tested now.
Oh my gosh.
And it's worked. We've tried it, and
And we'll just share one really quick example because it's interesting to note. And I think for anybody who's watching this and you have a desire to make your relationship stronger, this is a really key foundational piece that serves as a great building block to create connection and to allow your partner to really understand that you recognize them. As Jeff said, you recognize them as someone different than you who has different needs, and it allows you to step up to satisfy those needs for them. And we're talking about simple things here, right? 5 simple needs. But just as a quick example, if the girls or I wanted something done, we needed something picked up or something, the girls ordered a book from Indigo, or I needed orders picked up or something from a warehouse, it was like at the top of Jeff's list, and he would get it and he would message me right away and he'd bring it home, and it was like, got it, done, it's in the car. And that it was amazing. But because that's an act of service, because acts of service weren't my love language, I didn't return it. So if Jeff said to me, for example, this is how small arguments are, but they can erode your relationship. It is the small things that build the foundation for your relationship over time. So if he said something to me, for example, like, could you call Rogers and cancel the home line? We'll just use our cell phones. For me, I didn't understand that acts of service was his love language. This was before we discovered all this. And I sat on that for a week or two. And that was a pattern of mine. And then we would get into these tiffs because his love language was acts of service. So he felt like I didn't care about him in the way that he did for me. Because I wasn't speaking his love language. And once I learned this, it was literally like, like all the bells went. And I started to realize what I needed to do to work on showing Jeff that I valued and appreciated his love language. So today, if he asks me to do something, I try and get it done as quickly as he does. I'm not always as fast as he is, but I'm like 1,000 times better than I used to be.
Yeah. And it's, there's 2 fronts that you can work on. So the love languages is there's two fronts you can approach it on. And one is what you just said is understand what my love language is. And if I do something that's part of my love language, you recognize that, I'm showing love by doing this act of service or showing you extra time or words.
Yeah.
The other thing is you don't want to fall in the trap of the just like me scenario where I have something in my head and this is my love language, so it must be your love language.
Exactly.
So I force fit it and say, if I do all these things, or if I write these, or if I do all these things, I spend all this time with you, then that's automatically your love language. But it's about understanding, if you want to reach them, what is their love language versus trying to always match it, right? Because everybody's different, we're different, and we see the world differently. And so it's not about trying to be the same as the other person. It's trying to just understand what their language is and then just literally speak it. And then that's how you connect, right? As simple as that. If you want to make a fast connection, understand the love languages, and then that's your target. And I have to understand what your love language is. Like and it's more of what you need to do for your mate versus what you have to understand yourself. It's if you understand what is special and how what makes you light up, then it's good. So again, don't fall in the trap of the just like me. That's what happened to me. So I just thought, okay, well, I think this is showing love, but not necessarily. So you can see how it can get into a very frustrating situation fast. And that's used to happen to us.
It used to happen to us all the time. And what would happen was you end up judging the other person based on what they do or don't do that you think they should know, but you haven't actually communicated because you don't even know how to communicate it. And you're saying, well, let's say for me, for example, well, words of affirmation is my love language. And he doesn't, when I say that to him, it doesn't mean anything to him. So
or you'd write a card to me and I'd read the card and I'd say, those are really nice words, but it's not my love language, right, really. Exactly. It's just more time and you know together. That's for me was my love language. So you love words. I like words, but you love words. So
and you love
it's a good example because like it happens all the time. On so many
Yeah.
occasions you give each other cards, and if that person, if words aren't really their love language, they'd appreciate it, but it's not like, and it's not like, oh wow, that was, you know, a life-changing moment, thank you for saying that, or something special. It's not that special to that person. It's nice, but it's not a love language. So
because you're basing it off of
right,
what your need is and not what their need
so
is.
be careful. That just like me scenario, it's easy to fall into that trap, and I've done it, and you don't need to do it. There's 5 different love language and their languages, and as Kim said, there's just like, you can find it online, right?
I'm going to post the links below.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This video, so you can go and check them out. I'm telling you, it will change your life. I just want to end by saying we renewed our vows. I can't even remember how long ago it was. It was a long time ago now. After we'd been through some very challenging times in our marriage, and we renewed our vows in Turks and Caicos. And there was this beautiful minister who had like 10 kids, and he was married forever. And he said, everybody thinks marriage is 50-50 and compromise. And it's not. It's about you giving 100% to serve the other person, and the other person giving 100% to serve you. And that, I don't mean that means compromising yourself on every level and doing things that go against your integrity or whatever. I'm talking about like main things where you are there to serve the other person. And we've been on this journey for 31 years. And I can honestly say over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, personally, I just keep falling in love with Jeff more and more. The more that I recognize how amazing he is. Again, he doesn't have to fit into this mold of who I am or what I think he's supposed to be. It's like, I see him for his own individuality. I see the growth that he's done, and I just keep falling in love with him more and more. It's like, oh, look at he's got this, or he loves acts of service. And now, instead of this fight because I didn't do something that is his love language, I so appreciate that acts of service is his love language. And I think it's amazing how quickly he, responds to, my daughters and I, and anything that we ask for. So it's changing it. So how can I serve this person, and how can I enrich this relationship and this connection? Because it's the most important connection that you'll ever have. If you're fortunate to have a marriage, it's one of the most important connections you'll ever have.
Yeah. And well said. And I heard, I was listening to by the way, that is so to that point, the giving 110% always is not about meeting in the middle. We've actually practiced that. It doesn't work. And if you listen to most really good marriage counselors, online marriage gurus and love gurus that talk about having the ultimate relationship, they say the same thing. It's 110%.
Yeah.
And I even heard a clip that said it's the best love is the best of me serving the best in you.
Oh yeah. I like
so
that.
actually I was Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. Yeah. I saw that. It was a great clip, and he was trying to distill down, because he's big on relationships and serving each other. And so I thought that was pretty cool. It's hard to define what love is because it's so huge, but the love languages. And then again, I like that little phrase, the best in me serving the best in you is love.
I like it. Well, I do love you.
I love you too. Thanks. And it's getting better.
Yeah.
And as Kim said, I want to close with this too. You don't realize how much better it can get when you're in a difficult
that's
part of your relationship. We were, and you can't see how great it can really be. So give yourself a chance. And, if you're a couple already, there's a reason why you're together and you fell in love, and you have to just sort of evolve that. And there's amazing things on the other side.
Yeah. So well said. Thanks, hon.
No problem.
Bye.